So, hello everyone, good morning. First session done with a very great CEO panel. I am your chair for the session, Reema Bhaduri, and please give a warm welcome to our panelists, Gauri, Malhotra, and Sai Narayan. If we can have a warm welcome for them, please. So, our topic for the session is the leader marketers of the future, where we will be discussing upon the skill sets that marketers need to learn and unlearn. So, starting from the theme of the summit this year, I'm a marketer, everything from generative AI and Gen Z. If you can give your quick thoughts, Gauri, on the theme of the summit, that would be like really.
So I think this is just how the world is today, right? And I've joined Bombay Shaving Company about 9 months ago, and Gen Z is the core consumer we speak to, and I realize how much I'm out of sync with that consumer. Because the segment is truly different. They eat, breathe, live differently, right? I recently came across a statement they use a lot. I'd love to kind of know from the audience how many of you have heard it. Delulu is the new Solulu. How many of you know it?
We're short of Gen Zs here.
But that's exactly how much we're out of sync. So what they really say is being delusional is the only solution. And I'm like, oh my God, what does that even mean, and how do you apply it to yourself and your lives? But that's a mantra they live by, and saying, we'll do what we can control, and otherwise we just kind of shut our eyes to everything that doesn't matter. And it's a really apt session because this is the consumer of the future, and this is the consumer that we're building for. The way they're adopting technology and using technology is unimaginable. I mean, I don't think there's a single part of their lives where they're not using tech, and AI and AR is not a part of it in whatever they do, right? So super apt and really looking forward, and happy to kind of share some of the bits that I've picked up from Gen Z, which I don't understand, but I'm kind of trying to get to know better.
Same here. Actually, I've also been trying to understand these Gen Z slangs to have a better notion of how they speak. And I absolutely feel clueless at times, but learning with the youth, I think. So Sai, your thoughts on the technology that is rising and the generation that we are catering, Gen Z, and also the upcoming generation, Gen Alpha. Any thoughts on that?
So I think let's first quickly break down into who the Gen Zs are actually and who are we talking to. So it's easy to just categorize saying Gen Z and Boomers and Gen X and Gen Y, but who exactly they are, and pretty much Gen Zs are the oldest Gen Z today is 26-year-old, and pretty much in the workforce. And the youngest would be probably around 12 or 13, 2012. So 11, around 11ish. Youngest would be around 11-year-old.
Now they're being defined as Gen Alpha, so.
After 12, so it's Gen Alpha. So pretty much this is the category that we are actually talking to, and if you further talk about the mindset, they are the group which is born after the boom of the internet era. Like they were born. They are kind of digital natives who are born during the boom of the internet era, and to be honest, the people who are marketing to them are pretty much millennials or Gen X. They're the people who are talking to them. So you're talking to someone who is actually a native. So which means that the catch-up is for us and not for the Gen Zs. So because they pretty much understand the technology, they understand AI, they're in fact using it more than any one of us. So that is the kind of segment that we're talking to. So the understanding of the technology needs to be much higher at people who are marketing to them than the consumer themselves, because consumer adoption is pretty much at its peak. Yeah, so this is, I think, going to be an exciting phase where we are going to make their experience better, or maybe the Gen Zs are going to force the change upon us, how we can adopt technology quickly so that we can cater better products, better service, and better experience for them. So that's how it's going to be.
And just adding to what Sai is saying, I think as marketers, somewhere I feel we're very dismissive of who Gen Z is, and probably it's classically the generation gap that comes in, right? That you're always looking down upon what the next generation is doing, saying, oh my God, they're so brainless, and it just doesn't make any sense. But the gap has only increased, and that's real. And therefore, to be able to empathize with them, connect with them, understand where they're coming from is hugely difficult for marketers who are 15, 20 years older than them. So I think it needs to kind of start with that step one, and then build relevance and technology, etc., into their lives.
True. So there's also apparently a term called zillennials now, end of millennials and the beginning of zillennials, because they also feel that they're from a different generation altogether. So coming to back to our session, so how do you think that the rise of generative AI is reshaping the skill sets of marketeers in alliance with the Gen Z? Because naturally Gen Z is more about on the spot, and our technology is evolving faster than humans, I would say. Every 3 months we see there's a new technology coming in. We have AR, VR, ML, everything around us. How do you think that, how is it reshaping the skill sets of a marketeer? Sai, if you want to start with it.
So, just to give a quick, let's just set the context, because it's important that we see things from perspective. Back in 2000 and around 12 and 13, 12, 13, when I was a marketer, it was the entire buzzword was around, digital is a big revolution, digital is going to come, and digital is going to take over. I know this chatter kept happening, and we suddenly realized that we were all in the middle of the digital revolution. So, and people who, and marketers who kind of, did not realize that, or said that, digital revolution is going to happen 10 years from now, or, going to happen from 12 years from now. A lot of them pretty much, went obsolete, because, the digital revolution kind of, the pace at which it happened was so fast that, people who did not embrace it were kind of, went obsolete, or, were pretty much left behind, or, had to choose other paths. So I think similar context is where we are right now, the entire conversation around, AI and generative AI, and the entire usage of ChatGPT. While I've been to other panels also where there have been a lot of conversations, and I could see a similar trend back a decade back, of the similar conversation around digital. So the first thing for any marketer is to absolutely embrace it. That, this is here, and this is going to be the future. It's absolutely, one has to embrace it. So that's the first change in mindset that is required, more than the skill set. Because, skill is something that it needs to be acquired. As marketeers, we are kind of, lucky that the organizations kind of, spend, back you for doing experiments. Some experiments you fail, some experiments you kind of succeed, and you put your monies and all marketing dollars behind the success that you have got, and scale that. So the first change is required in the mindset that AI and the consumer, the entire conversation of AI is not just conversation, it is real, it is happening, and one needs to adopt. Secondly, coming to our own sector, where I head the marketing for PolicyBazaar. So the first baby steps that we've already taken is around, because we don't have a product per se. Consumer, when he buys a product, buys a policy, he does not actually get a product, right? He only gets a PDF on his WhatsApp, which is kind of and he wishes he never uses it. So there's no product per se. So the first step for us is to how can we make the experience of buying, and the experience if he has to use the product ever, which is a term insurance or a health insurance or a motor insurance. If he has to ever use the product, how can we make the experience better? So that's where, for us, the entire, the AI or, the entire AI, or how can we shorten the claims process? So we have already started using a lot of conversational AI for making that consumer experience better. Like, for example, on a daily basis, we get a lot of consumers coming to our own platform, and from where they kind of go on to a journey of buying a car insurance or a term insurance or a health insurance. And after that, there is an assistance which happens, which is a call center guy, calls the customer and, chats with them. So what we do is we have something called ASR, which is automated speech to text recorder, in which we kind of collate all the conversations that happen and convert it into text, and then use those texts for better sales pitch. Like use it for like voice of customers, what are the conversations they're doing around product, and help develop newer products along with insurers. So that's where we have started using the generative AI and the conversations of consumers to help them in better customer service, and also help them in creating better products. Yeah.
So, Gauri, coming to you, an FMCG brand, generative AI has actually seen major rise in this segment. How do you think that this technology is helping you, or even the future marketers, as the topic says, marketing leadership of the future? How is it helping the marketeers, improve their skills, or how is it changing? Like, as Sai correctly said, that first we need to change the mindset, and then the skill set comes. How does these skills are enhanced with this technology?
So, just stepping back, I think fundamentally, at least what I believe, is that technology is a means to an end and not the end. And I think that's sometimes a mistake as marketers we make, right? There are buzzwords happening around and we want to jump on the bandwagon to start using it. And that's when it becomes very, very dilutive. Everybody wants to do AI today because personally marketers don't want to miss the bus of having adopted the technology. And I think that's when it becomes dangerous. For a marketer, I think fundamentally we're identifying and solving consumers' needs, and we need to see how technology helps us deliver that. And I'll give you an example, and we were just discussing, right? Consumers require touch and feel to buy certain products and categories, right? However, the younger consumer is going lesser to the store, interacting more with technology. So Lenskart gave the option of trying the glasses at your home, so you can kind of see how you look at yourself and see how you look in the pair of glasses to be able to buy it. Now that's solving a real consumer need, and the business has obviously taken off very, very drastically. Closer home at Bombay Shaving Company, we just launched a head shaver, which is helping people go bald with ease and maintain their bald. Now the insight, of course, behind this is that being bald in India is not really a fashion statement. When Beckham does it, or when NBA players do it, it's very, very sexy. But in India, it's seen as a sign of receding hairline. And I've heard this so much that, men meet each other after a few years and say, "Arey yaar, tu thoda na baal kam lag rahe hain." And it's not a very happy thing to hear, right? Because there is a stigma and there are negative connotations attached to balding or going bald in India, which we want to change. But one of the huge barriers for people to take that step is, yaar, main dikhunga kaise? Matlab, ek baar kar liya to, how the hell will I be okay to step out? And we're saying, can we use technology to actually help that person see it? And help the person see how he looks when he goes bald? And also add it on with a couple of steps further to say a lot of bald people actually get a great beard. So we also tell them in conjunction that, okay, if you want to really kind of look sexy when you're looking bald, when you've gone bald, these are the beard styles that suit your face, and this is how you can really kind of up your game, with the basic intent of how do we make bald a look versus a stigma in the Indian market, right? Now, I think this is where technology becomes far more powerful than doing a campaign, and everyone's now using AR to make large packs jump out from hoardings, which I really don't know how meaningful it is in the larger scheme of things in the brand's life cycle. So yeah.
No, sorry, I absolutely agree with Gauri, right? Technology shouldn't be used just for the sake of using it. It needs to solve real problems. That's what, I was also mentioning that it for us also, it started with how can we better the experience of the consumer? How can we solve the problem rather than, as she rightly put,
The
just a
trends.
package jumping out of a hoarding is, but one can do it to create impact campaigns, but I'm saying one should not just jump into the bandwagon just for the sake of it, and try how can technology solve consumer problems. That is the real use case of AI.
AI. True. So, since we are on Gen Z, so Gen Z is a generation that that goes very, attached towards personalization. They really like, okay, they want, I mean, generative. Even they know that brands are using Gen AI, but they are also okay. I want something in yellow, so they want all the things. It's easy access to them. How do you think that generative AI can leverage this tech in order to connect rightly with the Gen Z and in order to, that personalized context that they want, so that also the engagement raises. Like today is also a time where so digital media is at its full pace. Everything is digitalized, either through an app or through social media. How can you leverage generative AI in order to create a more personalized and to gather more engagement with Gen Z? Gauri.
Yeah, so I think that's one really powerful area on how marketers can integrate AI into business, right? But like I said, again, it needs to start with what we're trying to solve. So one really strong use case, and Gen Z loves personalization, and I don't think it's just Gen Z. All of us love personalization, right? If I walk across the room and I say hi to you versus I turn around and say hi, Reema, there is a difference in how that makes you feel. So I think that's a very human trait versus a Gen Z trait. But just a couple of examples in ways in which it's transforming shopping experiences and specifically online. For example, today we can personalize every page that a different consumer lands on our D2C, right? So if you've landed on our page earlier and bought a razor along with a fragrance, the next time you land on my website, I will make sure that what I show you is a cartridge pack first, and maybe a new fragrance that I've launched. And to somebody else who had a very different shopping experience before you and has bought a completely different product, he's going to see a very different landing page that he sees when he comes on the website. And I think those are things that are really powerful, because what that's driving for the brand is far higher engagement. The consumer feels more understood by that particular brand. And of course, what it ends up doing at an end point is increasing conversions, better ROAS, all the data metrics that we love, right? And of course, translates to better revenue. So I think that it's a very strong use case, but it, again, needs to be done with a strong business objective in mind.
Sai, in the digital first era, how does in the insurance sector, does personalization through the use of generative AI help engage more with the Gen Z? Because as you earlier mentioned, that Gen Z's 26-year-olds are Gen Z in today's days. So early 20s, I would say, or mid 20s is Gen Z. And insurance, something people actually start once. I think people are much more smarter right now than I was as a kid. I'm not too old, but I'm definitely not a Gen Z. So how does it help in your sector when AI comes into for personalization, for helping them how it will go through step by step?
So I think first of all, personalization has been here for quite some time. So it's not anything. It's not a new concept, but just that generative AI kind of aids better personalization, better creatives, better communication, and faster service. To be honest, we all, not just Gen Zs, we all have been experiencing personalization in one form or the other form. Like for example, we live in a very carefully curated world where when you log into your Netflix, the shows that are recommended to you are based on what you have seen before, or when you open Zomato, the food that you want to eat is recommended based on what you want to what you have had before and what are your choices before, or which restaurant you want to go book are based on the choices. So pretty much we are living in a carefully curated world of your own choices or the kind of music that you want to listen to. You log on to Spotify and the kind of genres that are recommended to you is pretty much, and that's pretty much personalization, but of course it's based on a lot of data and the footprints that you leave on the internet. So similarly, insurance is not anything different from how all the other tech giants have been using personalization. It's pretty much based on your propensity to purchase the next product. Like for example, if there is a customer who's come in for a two-wheeler insurance, which is the cheapest insurance product that you can buy, you pretty much know that, as his life progresses, he would graduate into a car insurance or and then to get married or move to a term insurance, health insurance. You kind of just classically map the customer journey.
Saves a lot of time, I would say.
Sorry?
Saves a lot of time.
Yeah, so you classically map the customer journey, and generative AI comes to action in terms of marketing to him in a more creative way, in a more like for example, while we might not have used it, but one could do it like would you buy a new car? This is how you could be, and then slowly and steadily graduating him to the next level. Again, I would like to stress on, especially in our category, we still want to, because in our category the penetration is extremely low. While you might see that PolicyBazaar is a much big brand and everything, but still the penetration in our category is extremely low. One of the biggest thing that we're trying to solve in our category is customer education, because education around insurance is still extremely low. And we want to use generative AI and AI in terms of educating the consumers quickly, fast, in a fast manner. Like for example, we have a property called Ask PB. Earlier, this property used to be that Ask PB is Ask PolicyBazaar. Earlier, this property used to be a small icon in our website or app where if any customer had a query around insurance, he could just ask a question, and maybe in 24 hours, we used to reply to that consumer about his query. Like for example, the query could be what is term insurance or what is health insurance or what kind of claim can I get, or basic questions like that. So with generative AI, what we started doing is we have connected ChatGPT with this platform, wherein if the moment the consumer asks a question, immediately there is a response, but that response comes to the person who is going to respond, and he modifies accordingly, personalizes it, modifies a little, and then sends it. So what it does is that the 24-hour chat is now reduced to within 1 hour time, and the question is given to him. And then what we do is that we're creating videos around it. We're using generative AI to create videos around the content question that consumers are asking. Like for example, all these questions, we are not generating, this is the consumers who are generating. So we respond to them via text using generative AI. We're also creating videos around the same questions that people have asked around with the help of generative AI, and also doing podcasts around it, so that the same question, whichever platform the consumer is able to get answer for that. So that's how, and that what it does is that it might be very small at the moment, but in 3-4 years time, this education will help the Gen Z, the Gen X, and all generations. It will be like a repository of all questions the consumer asks and the responses to that.
Actually, just to add to that, right, like while personalization is one dimension, what Sai, you're also mentioning is conversational AI, right? And that's picking up so much now. Bots are definitely far more intelligent versus knowing that it's a robotic, single answer, person behind the screen. So the conversations around bots is far more interesting. The efficiency that it brings to business is humongous. Now there are conversational AI tools which are entering into WhatsApp conversations. So powerful, right, for brands which are talking to younger consumers specifically. And I'll give you an example. We're now trying to kind of track, it's also scary, but we're trying to track Gen Z conversations around having an intimate moment and trying to ask them that, are you prepared for it and are you shaved? before you go for it, and plugging in our product, which is a a groin trimmer into those conversations. So, and the responses that we get from it are so powerful. I mean, the conversions we get from there are so powerful. So, so I think all of these things, and being present in the most relevant conversation for a consumer is obviously the biggest aha for a marketer, right? And I think AI is now enabling us to do some of those.
Yeah, and the other point which Gauri just spoke about is, as marketers, what you want is looking for is efficiency of the dollar spent, right? And all these technologies, like for example, if a consumer is interacting with you on WhatsApp, these days the consumer wants to close everything on the same platform and does not want to move out. And to be honest, if a consumer also moves out of that of that platform that he's already interacting you with, then you have to spend more marketing dollars to reach out to him or her. So that's where conversational AI and technology, the bots and everything play a great role. That how can we close the conversation and the purchase in the same platform. That's the AI powers that also, and that becomes extremely more efficient for a marketer.
So, as marketers, we know that, there are two ways that we heavily, when we are promoting or when we are actually doing the marketing as a segment of it, traditional media also as legacy media, as well as digital media, we focus on that very heavily. But in the digital first era, on the side of it, it's more convenient, it's more cost effective, digital media, but also traditional media we have seen a rise in traditional media in the last 1-2 years. So in order, as a modern marketer as well, what traditional skill sets do you believe a marketer needs to unlearn in order to connect and stay relevant in the era of Gen Z and Gen AI? Gauri.
I think just letting go of this is the only way to do it, right, is a really difficult skill set to let go of, but is also so necessary. I think specifically for me, I've seen, I'm like from FMCG, so I've seen the very structured way of marketing, the very traditional way of marketing. And for me to imagine that a classical media reach and frequency can be done outside of a TV, print, outdoor plans that we all were in love with, right? Media agencies kind of pitched to, we spent a ton of money over there. To say actually you don't need to do even a classical digital media, right? Today, the way content can reach out to consumers and the way it powers conversations and powers business is unimaginable. And personally for me, I think just letting that go has been a huge part of unlearning that this is the tried and tested way to get to business. Today, there are multiple paths to get there, and I think that's something that we need to let go of. I do feel, however, that as marketers, it's our responsibility to kind of maintain is being consumer first, is being rooted in business, is being rooted to solving consumer needs, which I think we care far lesser about. And we care far more about doing interesting campaigns, making noise, creating chatter on social media, getting applause from people on LinkedIn, which I think are very, very vanity. And it's also self-boosting because you're reaching out to the community and they're coming back to you and saying, hey, I saw you, I heard you, etc., and not really bothering about whether the real consumers actually being able to hear you and understand what you're saying. So I think some of those fundamentals of why you're doing what you're doing and what is the business need you're solving and what's the consumer insight that's leading you to do something are very critical pieces that we need to pass on to the future generation of marketers.
So, Sai, same for you. Like, change is the only constant. We have been, every generation has been evolving. Similarly, what do you think what changes does a traditional marketer, because you have been in the industry for a very long time, as she mentioned that, as Gauri mentioned, that we have seen from we can't imagine like from television and print, from those outdoor campaigns, I actually started reading from outdoor campaigns for the first time when I was a child. And now we see like even the video campaigns, we used to watch it on TV. Thankfully, due to IPL, due to World Cup, we saw that again. But now we see more of everything is available on YouTube, Instagram. So what do you think to connect with these young audience, what are the skills that a traditional marketer, like if you have to go in crisp, that this is something you think that in the traditional marketing method, this is one thing we need to lose, or unlearn rather, not lose. Keep it in mind, but we need to unlearn it. What do you think it would be?
I think instead of talking about unlearning, I think one trait a marketer just needs to hold on to dearly is the depth of understanding of the consumer. That's something which Gauri spoke about. That is super critical. Like, understanding of the consumer is what differentiates a marketer from anyone else, from even your sales person or anyone else in your organization. So that is something the marketer needs to hold dearly to. And also the basic concepts of building a brand, that should not, ideally, in this era, one can get easily carried away with creating, because the technology is available, so you end up creating, multiple creative copies. So there is a difference between, creating, making creatives and building brand. Building brand is something, marketers should always keep, hold themselves and not, unlearn that. But more than unlearning, it is more about adoption of newer technology. While you build a brand, then you need to actually distribute it to where the consumer is and not where the consumer is not. So it's just that. Otherwise, else there's nothing much to kind of unlearn and learn. It's about adopting and embracing new technologies and pretty much reaching out to where the audience is. That's the basic trait of marketing. Otherwise, why would a marketer spend money on where the consumer is not? So
True. So again, in this digitally always online consumers, so we have seen different phases of, as I mentioned before, that marketing is evolving at a rapid pace, and technology even more rapid. I think humans are at the most back end of it. But again, as she mentioned in the very beginning, that there is a generation gap that we are witnessing. So they're always online consumers. They're woke, rather in their language, if I call. They know what is happening. They are online. They are searching. So we have seen trends where when AI was initially came into the conversation, metaverse became a very big thing. That okay, this is the next big thing. Then we saw sustainability having a very huge impact, and of course, it is still the need of the hour. From global warming, we have come to global boiling. But today we see a lot of the youth is asking for inclusivity within themselves. Tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, we have also seen them, they actually have the purchasing power too, tier 2, together to connect with the Gen Z again, in these tier 2 and tier 3 cities. How do you bring it all together, Gauri?
So I don't think it varies too much from how you're connecting to, it's just a different media channel that you're using, right? I think the consumer's fundamentally the same. Their surroundings and context is a little different. So you present to them what you want to say in a kind of modified context, if I would say so. But digital kind of takes away the boundaries so much that, if it's an Insta or it's a Snapchat or it's a MX player or it's a WhatsApp, you just choose the media depending on where the consumer is. And I think this one is actually fundamental classical marketing. Know where your consumer is, know who you're talking to, what is the core insight of that consumer, create the communication that is apt, and just make sure that you reach out to them in the most effective manner. So I don't think it changes much, honestly. Trend spotting is a thing that we've heard for the last so many years, right? And I think what's critical is to make sure that we're staying on trend, because this consumer also gets bored really fast, right? Retention powers are low. You don't want to kind of just be saying the same thing for really long. So it's about how do we kind of navigate the trend spottingness of this consumer and stay relevant. I think that's more important, and there will be something new 1 year later, 100%, right? And I think we won't be talking about AI and AR as much, but something else. So that's just the way I think we're evolving.
Do you think there's a change in the campaigns that we see, in different cities when as I mentioned before, personalization? So is there a difference in the campaigns and the way we are, contributing to the messaging of it? in different...
I think it's far lesser for Gen Z, if you ask me. The lines are blurred so much, right? The democratization of information available to Gen Z, and specifically because it's all tech first, is so high that the lines are far less demarcated, right? So it's actually far easier to communicate with that consumer across different tier of cities today than it was maybe 20 years ago, where the information available to all of them was far different. So I think it's actually, that part is much easier today.
Sai, same for you. Like, is there a change in the campaigns? And because a lot of marketers are also looking at different variations of how it is, to gather more consumer base, to reach out to more people. So, and Gen Z is someone who is looking out for more inclusivity, that we all are together. They know, they don't differentiate. They are much more nicer in some way and form. So how do you want to integrate, inclusivity in the campaigns and the way you are sending out the message to them? That, because if we see, there is also another insurance company who have also got new ads on them to have more relatability with them. So how do you conduct those messaging to convey to those consumers?
Sorry, but I'm slightly against the fact that if a consumer is woke, then we need to create a woke campaign just for the sake of it. So I think marketing should not be done just because there is a trend. Obviously, in social media, you kind of try to do some posts which increases the engagement. But overall, the objective of marketing is to sell their product, create category, develop a category, bring in new audience, obviously, and service them at, provide them the best service possible. So I think if these basic things, basic traits are kept in mind, then we should just go out and market to them where the audience is. The topic of inclusivity and they are nicer, they are woke. I kind of if there is a reason to do it, a brand should definitely go and do it. Otherwise, we should not just go behind what it's just a waste of a lot of money.
So more than, woke generation, let them be woke, they will figure out themselves. There's a lot of information anyway online, and I think websites are much more clearer with brands that, okay, this is what we are. I think every page has that, what we are, what we do, everything is there mentioned. Fair enough. Okay, I think our time is also up. So thank you so much for your insights. So I think we can get a little hindsight of how the future of marketing look like for the future leaders. Thank you so much, Gauri. Thank you so much, Sai, for joining us for this session.